Recording. All right. Um, yeah, so welcome. Billy and I were just talking about today's topic of synchronicity, and ever since we came up with the idea of it, how things seem to be synchronistically happening. So I don't know if they were already happening and we just noticed them, but hey, Valeria, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Good
Good
to
to see
see you.
everybody. And now I know who Robert is because I met him last time. Good to see you, Robert. Um, Welcome everybody. We're gonna get started here just in a second. And if everybody that is coming in, if it is within your means, we invite you to show us your beautiful faces so we can see you. We only get to see each other in this context once a month, and I would like to see you. There you go. Tracy's the first one. Tracy's like, I'll come in there. She put a hat on. She got everything going. Good to see everybody.
Hi.
Hi. So I know that we've got so many amazing people here, and I know some people, including Ty, who's looking very tribal right now, was recently on a trip. So I know that we'll have some interesting shares and stories. But allow me to just open up and introduce myself. My name is Dr. JC Dornick. Some call me the Dragon, and I'm happy that everybody's here. I'm somebody that is just completely in tune and in line with the frequency that is Arkana. And we're going to talk a little bit about that stuff today. And this family that I was exposed to such a long time ago that had such an impact on my life continues to. So it's just such an honor and a privilege that we get to see each other here once a week or once a month. Wouldn't that it would be nice if we did it once a week? Hey, Greer, how are you? Good to see everybody. See some familiar faces there. So this is something that Arkana, the unique entity known as Arkana created this, and that was something that was done just because we know that the work outside of the retreat, the integration work, is so important, and we're really going to dig into that today. The topic today is synchronicity, and I think it's one that's going to resonate with a lot of you. But we meet here once a month, and I create a little bit of a topic and a theme that's relevant. Um, Take note of how relevant the topics are. And what I mean by that, when we get to the part where everybody starts to share, if you find it strange that this topic was the topic, share with us why, because we're going to play in that space today, that space where the strange is not so strange because of the way that we're thinking. So if anybody likes that idea, you're in the right place here today. Um, so Billy, Valeria, before I start the topics, anybody, you guys want to say a quick hello to everybody, these beautiful faces?
Hi, everyone. Hi from Jungle, Amazon Jungle. Good to see familiar faces. I'm gonna meet Astrid after this for breath work as well. So lots of love for everyone. And yeah, good to see you all here. And I hope today's topic will be very synchronized with you.
Me too. Billy, you want to say a quick hi?
Hello, quick hi. Uh, hi hi everyone. Um, it's funny because when I was just telling JC that when he set this topic, I was reading a book. I am reading a book. It's called Synchro Destiny, and I was like, "Oh, that's very on topic." So it all synchronized perfectly. And yeah, good to see everybody. Thank you for coming. Love you all. So many wonderful faces. David, you're actually on my screen at the moment. I'm so happy you're here. Bob is also here. Bob's like our inspiration officer for the Valley. David, for any of you who don't know him, some of you do, is we're talking about coming to the jungle. Um, like Bob, you two will meet eventually. So I'm happy to see you and everybody.
So
That's all.
let's for a fun space that I know that a lot of you have been exposed to, especially those that have, just going to mute some people, those that have experienced, one of the retreats with Arkana, or perhaps another, facility, or, even the people that might be here that are still kind of on the outside looking in, feeling some sort of a calling. Maybe you're here invited by somebody. Um, there's kind of this magical thing that's happening. Unusual, abnormal, extraordinary, which sounds good to me. But for those of you that were exposed to working with grandmother and whatever it is that you experienced with Arkana, this is going to really come home. And remember, this is an integration mastermind. This is the work. So sometimes what we come to learn is that the work is not physical or not even maybe mental. It's just really sometimes a matter of reframing something. If you change the way that you look at things, the things that you look at change. So I think some of the toughness of the work that we're all out there doing is a result. It's like a needless toughness. It's a result of us operating within the plane of your default mode that you left behind when you went on the excursion there. So I'm going to read something from what I wrote, and I wrote an entire piece on this, like a real deep dive on this, and I have a free Substack. I'll put the link in later if you really want to really have fun with this topic. So, as usual, my thoughts before I come to you with them start with me saying and that's HMMM, which stands for haven't made up my mind. So I'm not sure about this, but it's just something that I've been contemplating. So is it a coincidence that we're all here? I mean, mechanically, we're here for this mastermind. And, there are, is that number a coincidence? Or there's some sort of critical sign or message that is kind of attempting to transmit to us today? It's an interesting thing to come to enter any room or space or conversation or scenario curious about that, and some sort of a message that maybe carries some sort of crucial answer that is supposed to unlock some sort of door to the next of your life. I know some of you feel like that. Society kind of quiets that down in our brains sometimes, but I know that you think about it. So we live most of our lives tuned into a channel that we're kind of born to and told to listen to. So think of a radio station. We've kind of all been raised listening to the same channel. And that's the one filled with common sense topics like survival, proving, being right, and a bunch of noise. I love looking at the difference between being tapped into the signal and the noise. We've been listening to a noisy channel for the most of our lives. But all along, your intuition, your sixth sense, which was extremely free for me when I first went to the jungle, but all along there's this kind of like curiosity that you're unsure of about this other signal that's kind of been broadcasting beneath it, behind the normal frequency that we're tapped into. And it's kind of been there all along, waiting for us to notice it. So I made it up. I call it the omen frequency. You heard it here first. Arkana claims this, the omen frequency. Maybe that'll be a book one day. So what the omen frequency is it's a hidden channel of your life that speaks through synchronicities and omens. And I'll explain the difference between the two. This is a really, really cool distinction to make. So synchronicities are kind of like the signs that show up ourselves and that we recognize for whatever reason, like deja vu, or just that moment where you go, didn't I see that person in the parking lot an hour ago? That kind of thing. Or why did I meet Billy in malaria? Was it just because I was supposed to go to plant medicine, or is there something else? Obviously, there was something else. So synchronicities are the signs themselves, and that's the chance meetings, the repeating numbers, the patterns, or universal winks and nudges that seem to trigger momentary lapses of reason and curiosity. Any Pink Floyd fans pick up on that one? So omens, however, different than synchronicities, omens are what happen when we interpret the signs and the synchronicities, right, as something meaningful. So there's the difference, right? So a synchronicity, like a sign, is something that happens and we go, oh, huh. And we typically walk by it. But when it becomes an omen, we connect the dots and we make it something meaningful. And that's a result of leaning in to something with curiosity. So it would require you to lean in with curiosity, which would be a voluntary conscious thing for you to do. You'd have to want to figure out why something is. So that's why I think it's fun when you come to these meetings to just say, who am I supposed to meet today? What am I supposed to hear and why? Rather than take it and let it get washed out by the default mode. There's the struggle. And then we realize that these things are pointing us towards something. Sometimes we don't know what something is, but we know they're pointing us to something. And it's not rare and random, although we think they are. It's just that they're unseen until we're awakened to them. Sometimes we can't see things that already are there because we're asleep. Wouldn't you agree the world is sleepwalking a little bit? I know I've spent most of my life sleepwalking. So synchronicities and omens cannot be experienced through logic alone. So I want to throw that into the arena right now. In the plane of logic and normal, that's not where these types of things occur. So when you guys got in a canoe and went down a river called the Amazon for the first time and like got dropped off in the middle of a jungle, like that's not like a logical thing to do. Right? That was a little bit of a crazy idea at the first time. So these are things that kind of like have to happen intuitively. So check this out. One of the ways that this is really, really cool, Billy, you're going to love this. One of the ways that the ancient Greeks would get signs and messages to the big, big questions they have. And I want you to think about the process of getting ready to go to a retreat with intentions. So this is the way the Greeks would get answers to the biggest questions they had about life is they would go to the marketplace and they would pass through the gate into the marketplace and they would walk up to the statue of one of the gods in the marketplace. Try to capture this. And what they would do is they would go up to the god and they would whisper the question into the statue's ear that they had. And then they would proceed after that to take their hands, cover their ears, and proceed to walk out of the market until to block out all of the noise. And they would wait until they got outside the gate of the market to take their hands off of their ears, uncover their ears. And the first sounds that they would hear, whether it be overhearing a conversation, the singing of a bird, or even the sounds of leaves rolling about, that would be accepted as the oracle's answer to their question. How nuts is that? That is the way that they would get answers to questions, is they would ask, block out the noise, and then accept whatever the oracle delivered. I don't know what the message would be if it was just leaves blowing, but that's what they said. So it was believed that once you get extremely clear and set an intention, listen to this, and put yourself into a frame of mind to receive its message. Sound familiar? The universe would speak to you and guide you. Just think about how you prepared for the retreat. What were you told? Set your intentions, right? freaking out and you're scared and all that stuff. But it all became clear when you were in an environment and partaking in something that set your mind in a place where you could listen. I thought that was super cool. So we're just doing what the Greeks did. So setting your intentions, asking your grandmother a question, there's the statue, and then remaining open to receive the message. Marcus Aurelius would be so psyched about us right now. So for me, this awakening became clear, like a lot of you, after the first time that I sat with the medicine, which I had no idea what to expect. I felt as if the medicine, and tell me if you think this is what happened with you too. I felt as if the medicine gave me access to what I would consider some sort of an augmented reality. You know, when you wear augmented reality glasses, what it does is it exposes other stuff that exists where you were already looking. That's the idea of an augmented reality. So what it did was it gave me access to seeing things that I had pretty much been living outside of, meaning my five senses that we all came equipped with, they were not able to reach what I saw when I was in the medicine. You know, my sense making machine was incapable of seeing those things until I had been on the medicine. That was what I felt like it was like. And I had a 1 hour conversation with one of the shamans before I realized that he was only 1 foot tall and sitting in my lap, right? That kind of thing. So what I once thought was like, what I once looked at as chaotic coincidences in my life after this started to kind of suddenly reveal themselves as what I call choreography. So you not only get exposed to seeing interesting things. Remember, we're talking about synchronicities here. Synchronicities you notice on the regular, but it's when we connect the dots and they become omens and we give meaning to them and they make sense. That's when you start to notice the choreography of the divine. And maybe with a show of head nods, we can see some people that are understanding what I'm saying. So grandmother didn't hand me answers. Like, I don't know about you guys, but she didn't say like, here, I wrote them all down in an envelope and give them to me, right? I kind of had to work for them, first of all, but she just reminded me where to look. So I don't know what your experience was with that, but I kind of felt like I was being guided to see something, like almost as if I was being reminded to see something, to listen, and maybe remember something that I had forgotten. So she revealed that the divine is always speaking and that omens serve as guideposts pointing us towards an alignment with it. You know, I think very often about, like, when I see Valeria doing breath work or yoga and things like that. I practice a lot of that stuff and I do meditation. And I realize that a lot of that has to do with me practicing remembering and tapping into this frequency. So this introduces a new meaning behind the work of integration. We're going to make it relevant to this meeting today. So it's a new explanation of why we often feel that it's challenging and causes us to perceive that we're struggling sometimes. And I want you to catch that I said it causes us to perceive that we're struggling sometimes, which entertains the idea that maybe we're not. So integration becomes sort of kind of like a task of learning to stay tuned to this frequency where all this stuff exists, where all this stuff makes sense, amidst the pull of that default mode channel that you guys were all like knowing was pulling you back when you came home. The one that we're going to go enter right after this, the default mode channel that's saying, hey, great, happy to hear you made that breakthrough. Come on back. Come on back to what you were raised to think was reality. So think about it. When you got the 8 P's of integration, and by the way, if anybody wants to like revisit those, just go to Arkana and go to Google and say Arkana 8 P's of integration. It's always a good idea to relook at that stuff. So when you look at the 8 P's of integration, or what I was saying before about Valeria, practices of meditation, breath work, and kind of the sense-making work that I've devoted my life to, they're there to help us reconnect to this source of this like sort of magical frequency. When I think about that, I look at Valeria, I look at, you know, Billy, and just some of the folks that are always over there. They're just they live in that frequency. You know what I mean? So what I think integration is about is finding out how we can do that too, without having to go to the jungle all the time. So I feel that this monthly gathering here, or that subtle feeling that I get when I receive messages from some of you. Sometimes I just get a text or a message from you. And I know Billy and Valeria, you get these all the time. I just look at those things as an invitation for me to remember. That's what I think the value is of this meeting. It's just an invitation, an opportunity for me to remember the frequency where this stuff lives. Over time, with some commitment and consistency, it can actually become a way of life, like I just pointed out there. So you begin to notice that the signals that we're talking about here are always unfolding around us. I always wondered about that when I came home. I said, I wonder if that stuff that I saw is still here, but I've just lost the ability to see it because I came back. I don't know if anybody ever thought that way. So here's just 3 beats that I'm into music, so I call them beats. 3 beats I want to drop onto the arena of play today. We're going to close out and start talking. So one is just this idea that we may have been conditioned to tune into the wrong channel. Just entertain that idea that you might have been conditioned. It's not your fault. Forgive you for you know not what you do. Conditioned to listen to the wrong channel where this stuff doesn't exist. 2, awakening is realizing the omen frequency, which I call it. And it's something that's been broadcasting all along. It never stopped broadcasting. It's nothing new. It's just unnoticed. And that's the value of this experience that we've had. It's been there loving you and trying to guide you all the while. And you get these little angels and messengers like Valeria and Billy and Jose and, that are really there. I mean, think about the facilitators. What are they doing? I mean, they're not just like responding to your red light. You know what I mean? They're kind of saying like, everything's gonna be fine. And come along, come along. They're guiding us. So integration, what we're doing here is learning to stay tuned to that channel in our daily lives. So as you move through this discussion today, which we're about to get into, as well as the week ahead, the month ahead, let's consider remaining open and curious and just simply play with the idea of taking note of synchronicities. Take note of them and, you can stop and go, I just saw that. And then ask yourself, what omens are they trying to share with you? Look for the meaning and the purpose. That's the conscious idea. What guidance might be hiding in what you've been calling coincidence or inconvenience and struggle? What guidance is sitting in those things? So let's discuss this now. And like I said before, if anybody likes, I go even deeper than that in the Substack. So I'm going to put it over to Billy because he's on his phone in a jungle and we want to make sure he talks before anything weird happens there. But so Billy, that's what I thought about when we talked about synchronicity. So what are your thoughts?
So many. Um, I like the Greek silence is where you get the answers. So in this book that I'm reading, Deepak Chopra talks about sync and chronos being like the alignment in time. And when you become aligned in time, like in timelessness, so when you're here in silence, aligned with yourself and aware of the spaces around you, you you tune into the field of infinite possibility and potential. And then you start seeing the world as you show up to the world. And then in that way, you notice synchronicities, which is so which is like meaningful coincidences. like Dr. Wayne Dwyer says, and it coincides with your intention, your energy, your frequency and vibration. So in that way, you are the manifester, the creator of your life. You are the creator. We are all creators. So the first is attention, being aware of these meaningful coincidences. The intention is aligning with it on the deeper level, with not in an egoic way, but in a way of awareness. And then the conscious participation, which is collaborating with the universe's intelligence. So when you notice a synchronicity, this is why it's actually wonderful for integration, is because when you notice a meaningful coincidence with intention, and then you add conscious participation, you you end up fulfilling your destiny, which is why his book is called Synchro Destiny, because it's the synchronicity and then the conscious participation with that synchronicity, acting upon that which you are seeing, that you are aware of, that is manifesting in your life. Does it then become an opportunity for you to fulfill your destiny? So anytime you see a synchronicity and you think, "Oh, is that a coincidence?" It's actually like a you're using the word omen, but it's like an omen. It's like a meaningful coincidence, a meaningful happening that the universe is helping conspire in your favor for you to fulfill your highest potential. So when you see something that you think is like a coincidence or synchronistic, then it becomes up to you to consciously act upon that. And as you follow that path, obviously more will appear as you align with that, but also you will end up co-creating, because it's this constant flux between, it's this relationship between you and the infinite universe around you, um, that will help you create the life that you would love to live. I'm going to read you something that he says as well, which I wrote just before this call, which is, according to Vedanta, the second symptom of enlightenment is that you encounter more and more meaningful coincidences in your life, more and more synchronicities, and this accelerates to the point where you actually experience the miraculous. And I love this again, because once you start experiencing the miraculous, or when you start experiencing these coincidences, then you act upon them. It's like you're interacting with this quantum, which you also are. Is this dual relationship? Then you'll fulfill your destiny, you'll fulfill your dharma. And like I say, in terms of integration, integrate, turning your life into something great. This is a beautiful opportunity to be like, right, let me bring my awareness. What do I want? What do I want to create? How am I feeling? How does that feeling show up in my life? What are these feelings teaching me? What is this world teaching me around me for my own evolution, which everything is? So becoming aware of that and then consciously interacting with that in a purposeful way, which is the creative, and then you fulfill your destiny through that. So I like synchronicity, and then taking that deeper into how do you achieve synchro destiny through awareness and then applied action.
I love that. I love that you were reading that book. You know what's interesting? I think this is a question you guys can all ask yourself, but there's a massive power move that all of you made, and I don't even know if because I felt called to do this. It was bigger than me, so I didn't really understand what role I was playing in it. I just answered a calling, right? But I wasn't paying attention to my role in it. I don't know if that resonates with you. But, Billy just said this, and it reminds me of Viktor Frankl's book, A Man's Search for Meaning. If you think about it, the moment that you answered that call, you made a decision to search for meaning. The whole process was all about that. It's really interesting. So when you do that, I mean, scientifically, you're accessing in a different part of your brain that is more conscious and in control, right? Because it's voluntary. It's not letting the keys of trust be handed to your program mind. So, and then when the idea of doing the work, like you guys came home and said, I'm going to go through the integration process. Once again, that's you consciously deciding to search for meaning, to make it all make sense. And what's really exciting about that is that's where the meaning is found. Because if you didn't do that and you just said, wow, what an interesting thing, that was wild, or I don't ever want to think about that again, and you just tuck it under the carpet, then it will never be a meaningful coincidence. It'll just be a coincidence. I'd love to hear, Valeria, I'd love to hear from you after kind of hearing this idea and then reflecting on all this work that you're doing and now doing, not just as a coach, but also the breath work and the yoga practice, how you think that it ties into the idea of this frequency of synchronicity and stuff. Because I'm sure you understand this on that level.
Yeah, so when you were telling about the ancient Greek story, the first thing came into my mind is that for us to be able to see these synchronicities and tap into them, we need to come to some sort of state of silence and stillness within. And that where the practices like meditation, yoga, breath work is all about is to coming back to your true self, which is the infinite, boundless, limitless self, where, when we come to that state of stillness, we are able to tap into those messages that come, right? And often this happens in the medicine as well. What it does, it brings us into that state where these messages come. And then when we perceive something, like for me, for example, how I ended up doing the yoga teacher training, I didn't get anything the whole 5 hours of the ayahuasca ceremony. Until the end, I saw a Shiva, which is representation of pure consciousness. And then I got the Kundalini rising and a baby Krishna. And that was like 1 minute. And then I didn't see anything. I didn't get insight. And then it was up to me to create meaning out of that. And I was like, okay, what could it be? What could it be? And not long after that, I think it took me months, and I was already in India doing the yoga teacher training. So again, what the medicine did, it brought me to the state where I'm able to receive, when I'm in tune with this synchronicity, and be able to then take the action. So one thing that we need to have is the silence, curiosity about the things that happen, and openness to like, okay, maybe this happened for a reason, and what can I do with it? Because if we just synchronicities happen all the time, but if we don't give it, if we don't celebrate it, if we are not noticing it, then obviously it's just there dormant. So how to amplify this is obviously adding gratitude into your life, going into that high vibrational state, and then slowly aligning yourself with that vibration, which is again through all these practices. And oftentimes when you come to the places like Arkana or my yoga teacher training, because there's a collective input, everyone is going through the same intention to evolve, grow. If you've seen, these synchronicities tend to happen more in those places because there's amplified energy of that. So whenever maybe you feel a bit of out of alignment, sometimes these retreats are an amazing place to come and, align with that energy. Sometimes it's harder to do it on your own. So that's why these places are so amazing. So
I
that's
love that
my
idea of recognizing practices and places where things tend to happen more, right?
Yeah.
Because I know some people in my life that I could do without, where things that I don't like tend to happen more as well. But if we look at, this in a positive way, I love that idea. Like, are you spending enough time in practice and place and with the right people where things that you desire tend to happen more? Ah, what a great idea. And I love that you said elevate it with it's like inject it with steroids called gratitude. I love that. Um, so Ty, I see you walking through nature right now, and I know you recently were on trip. Love to hear what you have to say about this.
Oh yeah, it's so good to see you guys, and I love this topic so much. Um, yeah, so I started to have a lot of these experiences take place after my first trip from Peru. And the truth is, these things were always happening. It's just changing my awareness to it, the conscious mind, knowing that there's a possibility of witnessing these synchronicities, witnessing these lessons all around us. And my way of tracking the progress that I make is the ability to witness more of these synchronicities. And as that number continues to go up weekly for me, and now trying to knock it down to daily, I notice that all that's really happening is I'm living more consciously. I'm living with more intention. And so I started to create little miniature tools for myself in regards to increase the ability for me to be prepared to witness. And that word was coincidence. I love that's already been brought up, and I love the redefinition of it. Um, the moment my mind, because my mind has been trained in that space, my mind has been trained in coincidence. Society has trained my mind into coincidence. Coincidence, the word that is so nasty that it steals all the magic of the butterfly effect of all the events that have took place in your entire life for that moment to happen in that exact microsecond of you experiencing this moment of coincidence, to take the power away from that with one simple dirty word. So I changed that word. As soon as I heard that word get uttered into my brainwaves, I immediately switch it and say, not a coincidence. This is a moment of synchronicity. This is a moment to be present. It's the loophole within the matrix, is that it cannot evaluate nor lock down this moment to keep us asleep, because it's trained us to be coincidence. Now, when we can switch the trigger word into becoming a teacher every time, and make no mistake about it, I think coincidence all the time. It happens all the time. But as soon as that thought comes into my head, I'm like, wake up for a moment. Something special is happening. And it actually allows me now, the moment coincidence comes across my mind, is to be present now. Something beautiful is happening right now. Witness it, find the connections, and this is how we take that next step forward into finding out who we truly are. The whole reason why I go to Arkana is I go and live all of these life of coincidences year over year over time, and I start to integrate them into lessons, integrate them into story that aligns with mine. And the story is pretty simple, to find a sense of understanding in this life, to find who I am, which I think is the true moment of enlightenment, is when you just know who you are. And that is not just from a physical standpoint, but from a ethereal as well. And I go into these spaces with Arkana because they have such professionalism. They have such genuine intent with the medicine, with the shaman, with every procedure that you could wish your business could run like. Arkana does it in spades. And so I go and collect all of these lessons of coincidences. And then once I have enough that, okay, I'm struggling with how do these all play a part in the story? I know they mean something, but what do they mean? And I go to Arkana with those intentions, as finding synchronicities within the stories of the lesson that life provides every single day. And the space that they provide there is so magical that it's like it literally picks up the phrases and starts putting them all in the right place. And then I walk out with an amazing story, with amazing new life, an amazing new mind.
I love that. I don't know many people that can just stop mid-walk and do that. It's great. Can't wait to hear more about your experience. By the way, there's a fun exercise that I created. I have a book coming out in February, but I call it the crazy wall. So for those of you that don't know what a crazy wall is, it's kind of like a funny name for what you guys see in movies where the detectives are pinning things up on the wall. They're called investigation boards. So crazy wall is another name for that. So to Ty's point, synchronicities or these signs that show up don't always make sense at first, but if you take note of them and you search for meaning, you can always put them up on your crazy wall, like literally a cork board on the wall with a red pin in it. And eventually, like a detective, you'll start to take out some red yarn and connect things, you know? So I love that idea is first acknowledging that, yeah, life's a little crazy and it doesn't always fall right into place, which is why, I'm going to the Sacred Valley with one of my best friends in November, because there's still a couple of things that don't make sense, so I'm going to have some fun over there, if you want to call it fun. So anyway, that's a fun exercise is like, rather than just letting it float by because you weren't able to make sense of it, put it up on your wall and come back to it at another time and recognize that we all came equipped with this sense making machine, your five senses, and we kind of have this sixth sense, but that system has been conditioned to only see so far and also block out a lot of things to keep you safe in this limited world. So what we experience over there, I think, which is so, and Billy, maybe you can speak to this or anybody else, it's so overwhelming because it's almost like the sensitivity of your microphone just goes way up and you start picking up all this other stuff that's there that you've been blocking out. It felt unsafe. It felt safe to be at Arkana, but some of the things were like overwhelming at times. But now I know why, maybe. So I'd love to hear from anybody that wants to participate in this conversation because you all have a stroke of genius inside of you that's probably going to change somebody. So is anybody? Oh, Josh, how are you, my friend?
Hey everybody, hope all is well. So I almost forgot what date I went. I think it was the ending of I think it was the ending of
Hey,
December,
Josh, not that it's
November.
important, but we can't see your pretty eyes. Just move
Oh,
it.
sorry about that. Oh yeah, so I believe I went. I think the late November, early December. I almost forgot, but for me, the synchronicity was me going to Arkana in the jungle, and it was more so in search of like that warrior spirit to be more brave and courageous to do the things that I want to do and get rid of childhood trauma, generational traumas, and certain things that get passed down, and just start off fresh. So obviously it wasn't a work overnight, but when I one of the things that happened when I got back from my retreat, maybe about a couple weeks later, um, I went to this bartender interview, and I'm just sitting at the bar, and this guy sparks up a conversation with me, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I see you here for an interview. I don't work here, but I come here all the time. Really great place, great staff." And he's just talking about the place, and he's like, "What do you do for a living?" At the time, I was doing project management, so I told him, what I do, and then I asked him what he does. He says, "Hey man, I'm in the Guard. I'm in the National Guard." And immediately he said that he was in the Army. It just, I'm like, "Oh, I know what this is. I know what this conversation is going to be." So, we had a great conversation. I was so intrigued. And then we ended up exchanging information. And I never really thought about me going into the Army. And I realized like a lot of things that we do, it's really for us, our specific processes in life, what we have to go through. And I noticed, I was like, oh, shoot, this could be it. This is like aligning with the retreat and what I was looking for. And right after the retreat, there's literally a guy sitting right next to me that's in the army, and he's in the infantry. So I decided, like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and get some information, and I leave in September 9th to go to Fort Benning for training. So I'm gonna be in the army. And another thing that happened during that time was I had a friend of mine who was unfortunately her mom passed, and she didn't have any place to stay. You know, she found her mom deceased in the apartment, so it was very traumatizing for her to go back. So she decided to, I decided to let her stay with me for a while, and it just so happened, unfortunately, that the girl that lived in the room near me ended up getting evicted. So my friend that happened to need a place to stay was already with me. So it just so happened that yes, she was able to take the available room now. And she's someone that a lot of synchronicity happened with her. Like everything happens to just fall in place. No matter what bad happens, it's always a response to it, and it's always happening to her. We talk about it all the time. Like she has it happening more than I do. But I just wanted to give that story right there about my search for myself in Peru and the answer that I got about 1 to 2 weeks later. So yeah.
Yeah. There's a another interesting thing that happens and that kind of proves all of this point and what you just shared, which was great, Josh, is that proof that we're kind of sleepwalking or we have a narrow reach is that we very often, even when we went on our trip, we have these intentions and goals like you shared, and we're so focused on them, and that's what we were taught to do is focus on the prize, but then later find out that the magic came from like 90-degree angles, you know? So each time one of those things happens, once again, you have the opportunity to say, huh, that's interesting. Or was that just a coincidence that it happened like that? Or do things seem to always happen like that when I'm open to them? So awesome, Josh. Ty, and then we'll go to Greer.
Yeah, just quick note on that. I love what you just shared there, Josh, is that not only do we get these abilities to witness a lesson take place, witness a synchronicity, um, but it's not enough to be a witness. It's very important that we make that distinction. It is for our ability to witness the thing and then place action into it. I think sometimes in the spiritual community, we use, the word manifestation and, uh, and like, I already see this in my future. What happens in that is a trick behind it is sometimes you are still viewing the future and you're missing that present moment that is taking place right there so that you can actually take action. And so to not get distracted by that, by what we're trying, we see the in obtaining trajectory and what we're reaching for, but recognize the small nuances and steps that we take right now. It's not going to be one long, giant leap step to that spot. It's the lesson of recognizing the small steps and then placing action behind them. And then as you continue to do that, it's literally just walking you down your path. And so that's fantastic. I just want to make sure that we didn't miss that. That's putting action behind that, the lesson and synchronicity that you witness. That's awesome, Josh. Congrats, bro.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Josh is like, wow, I just made people think. Yeah, you could even rework a quote and say, witnessing synchronicities in the absence of action would be nothing more than a distraction. Let's go, Greer.
Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to piggyback off of that, actually, what both Josh and Ty just said. I'm trying to think of how to make this short. For anyone that doesn't know me, I've been on 6 Arkana retreats now. So my journey with all of this has not been just like, oh, I witnessed the synchronicity and I did one thing and now everything's great. I've been working hard for several years now, and I wanted to. Somebody mentioned, maybe it was you, JC, early on about perceived suffering also. And I wanted to bring up also that now I see a lot of these synchronicities. I don't call it synchronicity. I say, people hear me say this in my life all the time. I just go, oh, that's what the universe does. That's my way of saying it. And so some of you know this story, but several months ago, I was dating someone who ended up assaulting me. And even after all my work with Arkana, I kind of had that mindset of like, why did this happen to me? And I freaked out, as Billy and Valeria can attest to. I kind of freaked out for a couple of days and was like, oh my God, all my healing's undone. And how could this have happened to me after everything I've been working on? How could I have let this happen? I just was in a really bad mindset. And I talked to Billy and I talked to Jose, which first off was something a couple years ago I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have told anybody. I wouldn't have asked anybody for help. And they both kind of helped me reframe it. And it was amazing because this perceived suffering that I was really, really going through opened up such a huge amount of abundance in my life that a few years ago I wouldn't have recognized. And then I immediately acted on, to Ty's point that we need to act. I recognized all of a sudden that there was all this abundance that happened because of this event, strangely, or maybe not strangely, because this is what the universe does, is I ended up actually on another retreat with Ty actually, and with David, and it just created this chain of events, both going on the retreat and just in my life here. And then while I was on the retreat, I had this realization in one of the mushroom ceremonies that, like something I had been thinking about doing, helping other people, maybe getting into integration coaching. I just was sitting up during this whole ceremony thinking, I really want to help people. And I really, instead of staying in my own process, I was just like looking around the room at everybody. And Ty can attest to the fact that, and Billy and Valeria wasn't there. I was laughing. I was just so happy because I was like, this all led to like, now I know what I want to do. And so I actually next week I'm starting a certificate program for integration coaching, and I've already taken a class in facilitating and that sort of thing. And it all happened because this guy beat me up. And I think it would have been really easy to just get stuck in that mindset of why did this happen to me? And I feel so grateful to myself, which is still something that's hard for me to do, that I asked for help, and then with a little assist from Billy and Jose, was able to recognize it as an opportunity and then act on it. And so I just really wanted to tell that story by way of reminding people also that perceived suffering can also be synchronicitous and can also be, a message for something good. And obviously, grief is a real thing, and obviously, pain is a real thing. Physical pain is a real thing that people have to deal with in their lives. So I'm not trying to diminish anybody's suffering or perceived suffering, but I just wanted to point that out, that there's real opportunity in those moments as well.
Beautiful. Billy, do you want to say something about that?
No, I just, what to say? It's just beautiful, and actually, it's just always the universe. It's I have to say, like, that all rivers lead to the same ocean, and as you flow to the ocean, you may go round the mountains, up and down the valleys, hit the rocks, and that's a part of this human experience. And you wouldn't experience the good if you didn't experience the bad. You wouldn't even be able to perceive good if you didn't know bad. You wouldn't be able to perceive nirvana if you didn't know suffering. So all of the whether it seems difficult in the moment or not, it's just all lessons. Opportunities. I'm liking this word opportunity with synchronicity. They're just all opportunities for us to evolve, transcend, and as Ty put, walk this path to true liberation. And liberation can come in a number of ways, and some of that is just fulfilling your dharma. So, for example, in the case of Greer, she experienced this suffering, which ended up being an opportunity for her to fulfill her dharma, which she has now self-realized as service. So it's beautiful, and it's almost all of that is synchronistic in her life, but it's her ability to have the courage, which Latin prefix for courage is heart. So to have the heart to continue walking that path and not just fall off the path and roll around in the brambles. Like I like it like if you're walking the path, you're gonna fall off the path and you might fall into a hedge of brambles, but what do? Do you roll around and just keep rolling around in brambles, or do you just pick yourself back off, brush yourself off, and keep walking the path? And if you're able to do that, then eventually it will lead to your own liberation. And another point that Ty made, which I like the concept of, is like the opportunity to be present. So when you see something synchronistic, it's like an opportunity to be present, to really bring your awareness to that, so you can expand that synchronicity, and then all synchronicities expand. And also an opportunity to be present before, so that you can even have the awareness to see it in the first place, which again is going back to like cultivating this inner stillness, inner silence, and concentrating your awareness in a way where you say like, oh, I see the world around me just as it is right now. And what is it showing me? Like, what do I notice? What coincides? Um, so that you can fulfill your destiny, synchrodestiny. So that's all.
Yes, it's very hard to see something that's happening from the future or the past. Astrid.
It would be helpful if I unmute myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Astrid, and I've done a few retreats now, and I love the topic synchronicity. So when I saw it, I was like, yay, it's happening all around. I just wanted to add that you have to trust it. And so you got to trust yourself. You got to trust the process. You have to trust other people in your process. When you're in Arkana, you're relying on all the facilitators, Billy, Valeria, everybody that is there to guide you, and protect you at the same time with the shamans. And I would love to say that the first time my journey was hard. The second time it was about love. The first time it was about self-hate. The second time it was about love. The third time, very similar to you, Greer, was about, I think I'm getting the message that this is about, I have to heal myself first in order for me to heal others. And I always thought it was reverse, because if I heal others, I will feel fulfilled. So the synchronicities actually have shown up significantly as far as timing is concerned. So trusting the process, but not rush the process. And I realize that the moment that I'm not in my own way, the synchronicities are everywhere. And it's all day, every day. And I have a beautiful metamorphosis for all of you. But to share, I live in Florida, and I was working, which I am quitting my job, but I'll tell you that in a second. And I thought, oh my goodness, two hairy men are going to rob me. I have no idea where the thought came from, but in reality, it was a bear. And we do have bear here. And it's a black bear. It's like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is like animal medicine. And so I was present in the moment to realize that that was Mother Earth giving me the present of the bear. I ran outside like nobody else would, but I do. And then the next day, and I'm in the middle of my entire life being upside down. And the next day, I go and look and I see a turtle sitting at my back door. I was like, wow, this is incredible because I surrendered. I surrendered to my process of everything in my life that I no longer want. And once I made that decision, I had a calendar event. I still don't know how Spirit put it on my calendar. It was my father, and it says cardiology. He's Dutch. Cardiology, name of the cardiologist, and the time. So I Googled it. It's like, shoot, this is about my father, and I feel it in my heart right now. So I called him. So I did take the action. And he was honest enough to tell me that he had tests and he's not doing so good. Me to recognize is that I need to go slow in order for me to see my synchronicities and to be able to pick up on all the messages and the different frequencies that we are attuned to all day. And when you work with the computer and you work with other people and you're in a very different environment than Arkana, it's all the noise that keeps coming back. It's like the different frequencies that are not only by the governments, but also our own frequencies that are interfering with all of our abilities of using our 5 or 6 senses. And so I wanted to share the bear and the turtle, and then the butterfly, which is significant, as Billy and Valeria know. I saw this butterfly, and we have migration of the butterflies through my yard. And there's this butterfly, and I was like, something ate a bite out of the butterfly, out of the wing. And I couldn't understand it the first day, but I kept walking around, and it met me the same day, the next day in the morning again. And then it met me in the afternoon, and I've been crying a lot. And then it met me by the pool where I was sitting. But every time it had one more bite out of its wings. But it was still flying high. It was still going at it so strong. And I thought, what is this message? I wanted to know it, but I was afraid because it was like, am I gonna die? As the butterfly that hasn't spread its wings yet? No, the message was, sweetheart, you're doing the toughest of the toughest in your life that you can do. And as you are, having little pieces of your wings taken away, you're still flying high and you haven't quit, nor will you quit until you have to. And I thought it was just the most beautiful message. And I have not seen a butterfly since I actually had that breakthrough. So even when you're a butterfly, we still have to go through our metamorphoses, with our wings on, and whether they get clipped or not. So Billy, I wanted to let you know, Valeria knows a little bit, but since the last Arkana, the 3 Arkanas led up for me to quit my job end of the year, and Greer, you know that too, sell my house, sell all my belongings, which I'm in the middle of doing, leaving my life in the United States, go back to Holland for a little while to transition my father to his, new paradise called heaven. And then probably end up in Peru, Central South America. So that is the story of the butterfly effect. And the synchronicities have been incredible. And I think this is the time that I can cry right now, is that I finally trust the universe. And that was what Arkana has done for me. I finally trust the universe and I trust myself. So my first mastermind, but I loved it and I wanted to share it. So yeah, thank you, everyone.
That's beautiful. Where have you been all our lives? That's great. I almost
Well, JP,
envision her house as like Noah's Ark. They're all like, "Hey, we're getting ready for the storm. Can we come in?" It's all beautiful, and I just want to point one thing out, and then I'll leave it to Billy and Valeria to close this out because we're at the top of the hour, and I know some of you have to go. The illusion would be that what her big discovery right now is something new. The question is that has that message been calling to her all the while, right? And she just wasn't able to hear it, and it took more than just one message and one, medicine, experience, or, so we can't put any sort of limitations on what it will take and have some sort of return on investment philosophy with plant medicine, because it's a process that now she knows she can trust. The hard part about trusting the process is when you're in the process and you have not gotten the squeeze in the whole juice is worth the squeeze, you know? So that is where faith comes in. And that is where these meetings are so important, because I know somebody here heard somebody say something that reignited their faith to keep going, and not stop swinging the pickaxe right before the diamonds unveil themselves, in life. But one thing I'm very, very certain of is that whatever it is that you're looking for is not something that lives in the not now. Come back home and listen and ask questions and pay attention, which is not always easy, which is why you should take breath work classes and yoga and all of that stuff, right? And hang out with people from Arkana. So Billy, Valeria, anything you guys want to share before we close out? Thanks so much, guys.
It's like,
I wanted. Oh, okay, go ahead.
no, you go. You go.
I wanted to add to the Greer that, in this work, any facilitator, any therapist, any integration coach, one of the most important qualities that they need to have is empathy and compassion. And without having those experiences yourself, it's very hard to have true compassion and understanding to what others are going through. So, why I'm saying this is that it's such a beautiful that we are all here because of our, experiences in life. And those are the synchronicities to then get us to Arkana, to get us on these calls, to get us, I'm so grateful that yoga came into my life because I was suffering so much. And now it's all my life. It's everything that there is, the breath, everything that I'm doing. So I wanted to thank all of you for being in this call. Keep doing the beautiful work that you're doing. Keep showing up. We love to see you always here. And I'm gonna just seal this with a little quote just to seal this call today. The more attention you give to coincidence, the more they show up. And the more they show up, the more you realize you're dancing with the cosmic rhythm. Thank you, everyone. That was you.
What did you say? Dancing with the cosmic what?
Rhythm.
Oh, I love it.
It's like the dance of the Shiva.
I like that dance. Billy, want to close us out?
Yeah, with dancing. Because what do you dance to? You dance to a tune. And okay, so what Astrid was saying about trusting this intuition. Intuition for me is like intuition, which is like in tune with this cosmic rhythm, in tune with yourself, in tune with the universe and this unity consciousness that you're creating with. And universe for me is like universe, one song, and that song is the song of love. So really you're dancing in tune with the song of love, and as you embrace your own the love within yourself, as you tune in and constantly, Valeria always talks about this, constantly tuning your instrument to tune in to the field and tune in to the love. Recently I realized the word art is in the word heart. So as you live through your heart, you're able to express your art. And what is art? Art is creation. So when you connect to your heart, you are able to channel creation, the divine creation, through you and out you. So you become the gift that's giving. You become this divine expression of the universe, giving to itself through the self. And you become your heartist, an artist. And so tune into yourself, attune yourself to unity, into unity consciousness through love, with the song of love, become a song of love, and then express your art. And obviously, as you do this, you'll as you live through that vibratory field, as you connect and tune yourself in tune with uh, this song of love with the universe, is more and more synchronicities will show up with more presence. You'll see them, you'll have more awareness for them, and then act upon them. So, and then you'll fulfill your destiny, your purpose, as you all are. Like Josh said, like Astrid said, like these people are quitting their jobs and following their heart, following their art, what is true to them, really. And your life will become more and more abundant and beautiful as you see these lessons, as you act upon these lessons, and you do it with the courage, with the heart, so that you can become the creator, express your art. Um, I'll finish with thank you, gratitude. Thank you, everybody, for being here. So many beautiful people. Some I'm going to see soon, which I'm really looking forward to. Dr. Dave, I see you. I'll see you soon. And David, hopefully you'll be here soon, inspiring others. And towards the end of this year, I'm going to be here until October, and then in the Sacred Valley, and then at the end of October, early November, I'm going to be in Mexico with Pepino, Ariel, Valeria, etc. So if anybody has the time and space, I'll see you. And if not, we'll see you on these calls. Come also to the bi-monthly breathworks. They're really profound, and they're going to help you tune your instrument. Just really quickly before I go on, Krishna plays a flute, and a flute is empty. There's nothing in it. And yet you're able to channel the most beautiful sounds through a flute because it's empty. And so as you become more and more empty, as you become more and more still within yourself, and you're able to connect, this is the presence, as you're able to connect more and more presently, more and more empty, you're going to be able to tune yourself and play in tune the song of love. So the bi-monthly breathworks are a great way to keep tuning your instrument, and so you can create the life you would love to live. That's all. Thank you all. I'm so grateful that you're all here. What a beautiful community. I love you all. Thank you, thank
And
you, thank you.
and I posted the WhatsApp group for the breathwork in the group chat. Just before we close this call, you can click on it if you are not part of that community yet. Love you all. Thank you.